Hello, hello. It's Interstates. I'm Alex Chambers. Before we start, I want to mention 2 live events we have coming up. The first is this coming Tuesday, February 24th at 7 p.m. at Redbud Books in Bloomington. Poet and artist Clay Schofield is going to lead us, including you if you come, in a meditative performance about oranges. And then, 9 days after that, on Thursday, March 6th, at the Grunwald Gallery on the IU campus, Action and Agency, where you can draw on film while I talk with a few Interstates favorites about taking important steps in their lives. We'll be recording both those events to release on the podcast down the road. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Okay, to the episode.
So you live in your car?
I drive for work. I drive, get out, sing, get back in the car, drive, get out, sing, get back in the... That's what I do. And I'm not complaining. That's just what I do.
This episode is about music, about jobs you didn't know existed, relationships with money, and the passage of time. Which is to say, the fact that as long as you're alive, you're only going to get older. This is not news. And yet, in spite of how completely obvious it is, the getting older itself sneaks up on you. It's a consistent, low-level shock to notice how much time has passed. For example, Nathan Dillon, the subject of this episode, was telling me how he got started singing to old people. That's how he makes his living, by the way. He's the director of Everybody Rocks,
which is a music education company. And mostly what I do now is drive all over central southern Indiana, singing in long-term care facilities to lots of really sweet old people.
I asked Nathan how he ended up doing this for his work. And he said,
about 20 years ago, I realized... Isn't everything about 20 years ago?
We're I can't remember exactly how old you are, but we're around the same age, and I'm in my mid-40s.
Yeah.
And yes, I feel like everything is about 20 years ago.
It used to be everything was 10 years ago. Now everything is 20 years ago.
Like 5 years ago, everything was 10 years ago, and now everything's 20 to 25 years ago.
Exactly.
Time passes. We can't make it slow down. But we can find ways to spend that time that make it feel worth it. It's something Nathan seems to have figured out. Considering I am constantly asking myself how I should be spending my time, I figured I ought to talk with him. So I joined him at the Richland Bean Blossom Healthcare Center in Ellettsville. I listened to him sing, and you should note as you listen how the residents were singing along. I chatted with some of the residents, and Nathan and I sat in his car and talked about what it all meant. And all of that is coming up after a quick break. Support for Interstates comes from Columbus Area Visitor Center, celebrating everywhere art and unexpected architecture in Columbus, Indiana. Tickets for guided architecture tours and more at columbus.in.us. For a lot of his time running Everybody Rocks, Nathan was going to schools, working with kids. He also taught in the Cook County jail system for a decade. But, as he told me...
about 20 years ago, I realized I didn't know any older people at all, except for family members. And it ticked me off. I mean, really, if I'm being honest. I remember saying to my wife, how is it that we don't know any older people? It's so weird. And her response was... I don't know why you don't just teach music to older folks too then. And I think I fell off the couch. I think I just was like, oh my God. So from that moment, I started trying to figure out how I could bring music to older folks. And about 10 years ago, I started really pursuing it in earnest. And now it's all the work that I do pretty much.
Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? That's right. We gotta do it now. I can't help falling in love.
I don't have enough old folks in my life, so... Or young kids, honestly, but...
Well, I hear that. Yeah.
Surely to the sea, darling, so it goes.
Yeah, it's one of these weird kind of quirks of our culture where we prize youth, and that's kind of how our world is built, our pop culture world, and older folks are kind of invisible, which is weird. I mean, if you think about The Village, at any other point almost in human history, the elders are there with you. They're part of your tribe, your village, your town, whatever. And those people's takes on things are valued because they're the survivors. They're the people with the wisdom. It's our culture, our time, that's the anomaly, where we have this hole in our lives that we don't know that we have, which is no interaction with the older generations, which is insane. I mean, if you think about the fact that we have always had this as humans and now we don't, it's just insane. It's so weird. So, yeah, I love it. They're sweethearts.
Really interesting point, and not one that I think about on a regular enough basis.
Nobody does, because it's like the fish thinking about water. We're not aware of those blind spots of our culture. We're stewed in it.
So you realized you wanted to be spending time with older folks, and then you started doing it. What surprised you?
I think the story surprised me. You when you see a little old lady, you think there's a little old lady, and then she says something like, "Well, I was married 3 times, and my first husband, left me with such and such, and then we traveled to Japan, and then after that, you have no idea that this person has lived an incredible life, and everyone has these stories. Songs bring these stories out in people, so you play something that someone hasn't heard since they were at the dance when they were 16 years old, and all of a sudden they find themselves talking about their high school sweetheart.
I love I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry.
I've never seen a night so long.
When I met my husband, one of our first dates, he had the radio on. It was WBZ in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And they played I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. And that memory just stays with me of us in the car listening to that radio, that song.
Can you tell me more about that evening? No.
No. No, I had met him at school. We were high school sweethearts. And we had been to a dance. And we were at the dance, and he brought me home. When he brought me home, that song was playing. It's a nice memory. Nice, warm memory.
And these stories come out organically because the music triggers feelings and memories, and before you know it, you're talking to people, and those will never not be surprising. There will always be surprising because you can't help, when you see a little old man who's 98 years old, you see a little old man, but that little old man has done some stuff, and and hopefully he's going to tell you about some of it. If you're being aware, if you're very aware and tuned into how people are responding to your music, you will inevitably see someone become 15 for a second. And that is so fun. I mean, you start to play a song, you don't know why. I mean, if it's from their era, their teenage years, their 20s, you'll see someone, and you don't necessarily get to follow up all the time and say, why did you have that? But you'll definitely see people go back in time, and it's so fun. It's just the best to be able to give someone that for a minute. It's just a joy.
I don't like getting older. That stroke, there's a lot of things I can't do anymore. I have arthritis pretty bad in both hands, so there's a lot of things I can't do anymore. I can play my CDs though. But it's a blessing. Is what it is. Yeah. And Nathan coming in here is a blessing too.
Yes, it is.
There's a woman at one place I go to here in Bloomington that I've known for, I want to say, about 8 years now. She arrived at this place about the same time I did, started singing there. I honestly didn't know if she worked there or if she lived there for a while.
Huh. Like she was young enough.
She was young enough, but she was also very active in helping. So she's helping everybody, and you're like, is she a nurse or is she? Anyway, she was a resident and is. And in the 8 years that I've known her, she went from being kind of the most active, helpful, vocal person to now she lives in the memory care wing of the same place. And she still knows me. I wouldn't say that she doesn't know me yet, but it's been 8 years, and she's now, lives in a memory care part of this place. And a memory care place is a locked wing because people and with memory care problems or dementia can't be left to roam. And she's so sweet, and I've known her for so long, and I've gotten to be a little tiny piece of her life for these last almost 10 years.
Do you feel like you're friends, or does it feel like a different kind of thing?
I'd say we're friends, yeah. I would consider her a friend. But as a person who's moving through the spectrum of memory care stuff, that is a different thing than a regular friendship, because you're in the moment. You're not, do you remember when we did the blah, blah? You don't do that. You don't say, do you? I do my best to never say, do you remember when? Because that's, you're in a memory care place. It's not about what happened. It's now about the moment. And that's something that folks in memory care can really teach us, is it really is about what's happening right then. It's not about the past, and it's not about what's coming. It's about right now. And that's a beautiful lesson. Children can also teach you that lesson, but it's different, when it's a person with a memory care situation.
When people come and sing, it gives us something to look forward to. And when you're in a nursing home, there's not a whole lot to look forward to, unfortunately. So we love when people give up their time and effort to come and see us. Mm-hmm.
It seems I would worry about being bored.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't get bored around here. Do you, Tammy?
No.
There's always something to break the boredom. Play games, listen to music, go into the lunchroom, listen to the Alexa, and read a book. Just anything to keep you occupied.
I watch TV and do word search, and hopefully some of your family comes to visit sometime during that month. Mm-hmm.
People come and go, and people we get to meet, and then so-and-so will pass away. That's hard. It's hard to take. One of our good friends, Paul, he was in the activity room with us and went to the hospital and never come home. And that was hard for us all.
Maybe, Lord, I could show someone else what I've been through myself on my way back to you.
If it's someone who's really engaged and participating, maybe they're in the assisted living side of things, somebody might get up and dance, or dance in their chair, or tell you a story. Then as you get into the more medical side of things, or into more of the memory care side of things, people might not be physically responding as much. But I've definitely had situations where someone in a memory care situation would start talking to me, and then later a staff person would say, they haven't spoken in a month, or she talks more with you than anyone, or whatever. Music will bring that out.
I love Metallica, Enter Sandman. Nothing else matters.
You gotta listen.
I had a landlord said, I thought you would listen to that kind of stuff when you got high. I said, no, I listen to it. I get high listening to it.
Any music that they bring in for us to listen to, it's something for us to get out of our room and go do. Other than that, they'll come by my room. I'll be listening. My phone is set. And I'm playing Tom Petty this morning. I was running down a dream. Refugee. That's just a few of the songs.
If you're a musician and you're bringing your art to someone, you want to leave your, my car is making a weird noise and I yelled at my kid and now I feel bad. And all that, you leave that at the door, and you go in and you be a professional, and that means you play as best as you can. You do your best to connect with others and attempt as best you can to serve them with your art. And being very present and aware in the moment is one way of thinking about doing that as a professional, but also as kind of a human, you know?
Oh my gosh. That's pretty fun. Oh, you all are in fine form today. That's pretty funny. Let's see what else we've got.
Nathan seems to be spending his time well. I think he feels good about it. But unfortunately, you can't pay the bills with good feelings. After the break, we'll talk about how it feels to live permanently in the gig economy and how Nathan's relationship to money has gotten less adventurous than it used to be. I know, kids, you probably think all rock stars are rich, but when you're a rock star to the seniors of Southern Indiana, it's a bit of a different story. Stick around. Support for Interstates comes from Mallard Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Mallard Grodner Attorneys, understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. On the web at lawmg.com.
As someone who's been doing this for so long, making a life as a musician, can you talk about your relationship to money?
Sure. I'm lucky that my wife and I work well together on different things. Money is one of them. Like we divvy up the roles and responsibilities pretty well with all that. I do live in the gig economy though, and I have always lived in the gig economy all of my adult life. So living in the gig economy means you have to be ready to absorb the time it takes to get people to pay you, essentially. So that regular paycheck doesn't exist. So, and because some people pay immediately, some people pay in a couple of weeks, some people pay in a couple of months, some people you have to chase to get paid. Building that kind of variability into your life is challenging for a lot of people. It can be uncomfortable if you're like, where is this money? Why isn't it in my mailbox or it can be a real challenge. That's a trade-off. I mean, there's an upside and a downside to any kind of work, and I get to do what I want all day long, and because of that, I have to also wrangle my way through paying for things, which is fine. It's a fine trade-off.
You mean wrangle your way through getting paid? Is that what you meant?
Well, yeah, and then taking that money and paying for things. Right. So it's it's not comfortable a lot of times.
But you said we were talking earlier before I started recording, and I was like, I have always been really stressed about money and worried about it. And then you said you just don't worry about money, which is impressive to me.
Oh man. There's we could do a whole podcast just on that. it used to be that I worried so little about money that I was being irresponsible, in terms of not knowing if there was money or not, right?
Not just where it was coming from, but if even what you had.
What the bank account said at all.
Right.
And then over a year, we're talking a long time here, many, many years, it got to the point where I realized that I kind of got hooked on saving the day. Meaning my wife would be like, we're going to be in trouble if we don't find X amount of money before whatever day. And then I'd go, all right, okay. And then I'd have to go out and find it. And I would go out and find it. And then she'd be like, oh, thank God. And then I'm like a little mini hero in my head. But really what I'm doing is putting her through the ringer. That's awful. So I'm like, okay, I need to make this as boring as I can. That's how I think about money, is it's numbers in a computer somewhere. It is a shared make-believe that we all participate in.
True.
And my numbers don't change however I feel about them. So if I'm upset, it doesn't matter. If I'm happy, it doesn't matter. So I need to make it as dull as I can. If I know what's in the bank, or now that I know what's in the bank, I don't want it to elicit, oh God, like I need to know what's there, so I know what to do. But I don't want to act out of fear or anxiety.
Or excitement. Or like
excitement,
play with
right.
that hero thing.
Yeah,
And adrenaline.
I don't want any of it. I just want it to be boring. Like I just want it to be the numbers pop up on the screen and then I turn the screen off and I go do what I have to do.
And you feel like you've managed to get there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, I think so. I can compartmentalize it pretty well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also in terms of like your work, you've managed to get to a point where it feels like maybe you're not, ever going to be able to buy that second house.
Right. Yeah, that second house, that'd be tough. I don't know. I don't want for a lot. I mean, I love what I do and my family is super dope, so I don't really have like, the money doesn't become aspirational. It's not like I'm going, oh, if I could only get that, whatever, then I'll be happy. It's not going to do that for me. That's never what it's going to be. So the money side.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to give it any more time than I have to. I'd rather use my time to do the things that I already care about. So does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's pretty awesome.
It might be incredibly irresponsible. I don't know. My wish for people is that they find something they want to do until they fall over. I hear people our age, we're mid-40s, our age, people are starting to think about retiring and like in the way future and how are we going to do this? And I think in my brain, I'm like, what am I going to do when my fingers stop working? How am I going to keep making music? Or what am I going to do? Like, I want to do this until I absolutely expire and I'm dead. So how can I keep these balls in the air? How can I keep making music and sharing music and serving through music? How can I do that and keep this going? When people talk about, I'm going to do this for another X number of years and then I finally will be done, I don't know what that means. And that's incredible to me. I feel so incredibly lucky that I'm thinking about how to make this last as long as I can. Till I'm in one of those places, I guess.
That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you can just do it until you're until you're there.
One of these days I'm going to be playing a guitar in one of these places and I'm going to be like, wait a minute, do I live here? And they're going to be like, Yeah, you've been here. I was like, I made it.
We should maybe do a quiet song next. How about, let everybody catch their breath. Myself included. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Hoagie.
What's that, dear?
Hoagie.
Hoagie. Yeah, we could do a hoagie song. That's a good idea. How about Georgia on My Mind? That's a good one.
And that's our show. We'd love to hear what it made you think about. Send us an email or a voice memo through the contact tab on our website, wfiu.org/interstates, or get in touch on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, we've got your quick moment of slow radio coming up. But first, the credits. Interstates is produced and edited by me, Alex Chambers. Our associate producer is Dom Hyab. Our master of social media is Jillian Blackburn. We get support from Eobon Binder, Natalie Ingalls, Luann Johnson, Sam Schemenauer, Peyton Whaley, Lisa Robin Young, and Kate Young. Our executive producer is Eric Bolstridge. Our theme song is by Amy Olsner and Justin Vollmer. The residents you heard at the Richland Bean Blossom Healthcare Center were, in order of appearance, Stephanie Sappingsfield, Daniel Allen, Rita Eaton, and Tammy Brohome. I want to thank them and also Dorothy Hinson in Activities, who helped me meet people and was just about the most cheerful person I've ever met. We'll post a video of her dancing with Jerry Hutcherson, one of the residents. It was super sweet. All right, time for some found sound. That was a film projector at the Grunwald Gallery at the IU campus. It might be the exact film projector we'll be using to show films you might have made if you come to our Action and Agency event on Thursday, March 6th. All right, until next time, I'm Alex Chambers. Thanks, as always, for listening.
Riding back at the top of the hunter's moon. See airplanes like stars slinging, subliminal, we make the rounds and soon a dead end for hand ringing. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming
Hoosier Spirits is a new documentary from WTIU and Indiana Public Media that explores Indiana's deep distilling roots and visits distilleries across the state to get a glimpse at the future of Hoosier Spirits. Learn more, check out a map of Indiana distilleries, and get the recipe for our exclusive cocktail at WTIU.org/Hoosier Spirits.